Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm Rick Notby and you're watching Tech Talk. And we are on location. First of all, I want to introduce Mitch Gallagher with Sweetwater.
Rick, good to see you.
Good friend and comrade Byron Gaither here. And we're in lovely Fort Wayne today, Fort Wayne, Indiana, the home of Sweetwater. In case of you're not familiar with Sweetwater, which is probably not the case, but you might not realize that this is a pretty amazing place. They have an amazing facility, recording studio, huge presentation facility. They even have like miniature golf and like an arcade, and it's a pretty sweet place. So we're really happy to be here today, and. We had a heck of an interesting drive over here, but we finally made it in one piece. So after much stress. So anyway, today we're going to be talking about some of the new hardware and software that PreSonus has for the fall, and a whole new line of recording interfaces and a whole new version of StudioOne, our recording software. So just to tell you a little bit about the hardware that we're going to talk about today, we're going to be talking about the new AudioBox VSL family. And the first product in the family is this little guy. This is the AudioBox 22 VSL. And this is a great little portable bus-powered 2-in, 2-out interface, 96K. It is extremely small, 1/3 of a rack space in size, and has all of the family of products have the same quality A to D conversion, 114 dB dynamic range on the A to D converters, and just a great sounding little box. The next product in the family is called the AudioBox 44. This is this guy, and this is 4 inputs, 4 outputs, so it has 4 mic inputs. And when we talk about the mic inputs, these are using the X-Max preamps that we feature in a lot of our external mic pre's and also in the Studio Live family mixers. And of course, the AudioBox 44, it's a half rack unit, also still pretty portable, but it's just for if you need more than 2 inputs, this is a great little box, and still not that much bigger. And then the big dog is the AudioBox 1818, and this is an 18 input, 18 output USB 2.0 recording device. It features the same 96K converters, same X-Max preamps, except 8 analog inputs and outputs, 8 channels of ADAT input and output, stereo SPDIF input output, and then all of the whole family of interfaces have MIDI I/O. So it's a built-in MIDI interface. You can plug in a MIDI keyboard and control virtual instruments, or any kind of MIDI device that way using just a regular MIDI port. Now, one of the things that really makes the new AudioBox family so cool is the VSL part of things. And basically what VSL stands for is Virtual Studio Live. So we took the effects that come with our Studio Live 1602 mixer and basically put them into the analog section, so that you have now the ability to monitor when you're recording with compression, noise gating, and EQ on every analog input, on every return. And it's a really cool way. Now, the whole idea with monitoring is most recording interfaces, you pretty much have 2 choices. You can either monitor dry, and monitoring dry sounds dry.
That's right.
Right? Or you can use plugins, and using a plugin is great, but the problem with that is then you have to deal with latency, and what that is basically is the time that it takes an analog signal to go through the recording interface, go all the way through your computer, through your DAW, hit the plugin, and come back out again. So that amount of time is basically a delay in the time that when you play something, you hear it a little bit later. That's called latency. And it's funny, musicians don't know what latency is, but they know that they hate it.
As soon as you encounter it, it just doesn't feel right or doesn't sound right when you're singing.
That's right, because especially as a player or as a singer, you're hearing things through through your ears basically, and it's a feel thing. You want to be able to hear it right away.
As it's happening.
That's right. And what we did with the new AudioBox family, the benefits of having a little bit of effect while you're tracking are really, really powerful. I mean, especially for a vocalist, a lot of time, you know, having a little reverb on your vocal or on your guitar is just a nice way of, you know, being able to listen to yourself play, and it's a much more forgiving way of listening. And a lot of times, you know, if you're recording somebody that doesn't have a whole lot of experience in the studio, you know, it helps their confidence to hear themselves. You know, it's the old singing in the shower kind of a trick, right? You know, like you always sound great in the shower, you know, because of that little reverb sound. So having a little bit of an effect while you're recording is nice. Now, let me show you what the GUI, or the graphic user interface, looks like of the new AudioBox family. So I go down here, click on my little USB man, and there it is. And it looks like you know, very similar to the Virtual Studio Live graphic user interface that comes with the Studio Live 1602, and that's because it basically is. So, you know, here's all of my analog inputs, and right now I'm plugged into the AudioBox 44. And so, you know, here, hold on, let me plug this in so you guys can see this. Let me see here. Okay. Coming right up. Got it? Okay, cool. Okay, so this is the mixer application, and this is basically where, here's my 4 analog inputs, right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And here is my DAW returns. DAW returns means digital audio workstation, and this is coming from my recording software. So right here, you know, on any of these, if it's a stereo pair, like a return, I can hit this little chain, and now it's going to link these faders together. So this will be my return coming from my StudioOne or whatever application I'm using. And then I have another set of DAW returns right here. So let's say this was click track or something like that was generated from StudioOne. And then all of these analog inputs, I have the ability to, you know, double click right here and add some EQ, add some compression, add a little noise gate. And then right here, I've got 2 effects processors built in as well. So let me just kind of show you an example. I'm going to have my my friend here, Mitch Gallagher, be my guinea pig, and grab this acoustic guitar that we have plugged in, straight in. So this is the dry acoustic guitar. Okay, you know, doesn't sound bad. It sounds like a dry acoustic guitar. Okay, so, you know, we can do some things. First of all, we can, you know, there's a little bit of that mid-range pick. I mean, we're just going through the pickup. So obviously, if I had a microphone on it, it would be a little bit, I think, of a better sound than the pickup. The pickup has a little bit of that mid-rangey,
that quackiness that you get.
Quackiness. That's right. So hey, but you know what? We have an EQ here on the fat channel that we can, you know, engage, and so I can just engage this EQ, and I can take a little quack out here, you know, around here, and then we can add a little sheen on the top end. Okay, and then on the compressor we can engage this, and, you know, kind of throw a little compression, and so that way when he hits it harder, so you can see right here, there's the zoom in thing. Ooh, look at that. This is just control. Okay. See, that's my Byron trick, the little zoom in. Woo-hoo. Control. Okay, nice. And then same thing here with the noise gate. Of course, I don't necessarily need a noise gate, but I might need a high-pass filter, and here it is. I've got a high-pass filter that I can engage in, you know, to get rid of a little bit of low-end rumble. And, you know, the other beauty of this is that PreSonus has included a bunch of presets. So if I hit this fat channel tab right here, you see right here, I've got all of these presets to choose from, and so I can find one, like let's say here's acoustic guitar strum preset, and all I have to do is click and drag and drop it right on channel 1, and now, okay, so that's a nice little sound we have. But the other beauty of the AudioBox family is that not only do you have EQ and dynamics, but you also have 2 32-bit effects processors. So we can put some reverb and some, you know, time-based effects, reverbs and delays and stuff like that. So I've got, as you can see right here on every channel, A and B, and I've got 2 different levels. And right here, you can see I've got A and B right here. So let's just say, you know, I want to have some type of a reverb and want some type of a delay. If I hit the effects tab right here in the upper right corner, I also have different presets right here. So let's go ahead and throw a large hall on A, and let's throw some kind of a delay, a little slapback delay on B. And now let me throw a little reverb on you there. Give me a little jab bit. That's quite nice. And then a little delay here. Okay. So, you know, the beauty of this is that I can not only, now, you know, I've applied some basic effects to his guitar, but the other beauty of the VSL part of Virtual Studio Live is that I can save this whole setup as a scene. So as you can see right here, one of my tabs is the scene tab, and see, I can store a scene and name it and quickly recall it. So let me just show you the dry kind of sound again. Actually, let's save this one first that we've created. So I'm going to hit the little plus button, and we're going to overwrite this one. And now you can hear, let's hear the dry signal again. Little finger picking kind of thing. Okay. Now we're gonna show you the scene that we just created. Click and drag it on. Okay, and let me just ask you honestly, do you
Sure.
hear, do you feel any latency? Do you?
No, I don't. It sounds just like there's no disconnect between my fingers and what's coming out of the speakers, which is always the weird thing when there's latency, especially with headphones.
Right.
But from what I'm hearing here, it's just like what I'm hearing coming straight out of the guitar. There's no delay at all.
Yeah, so no flanging, no kind of weird vibe. So that's a very important thing with the way that Virtual Studio Live works, is that it's designed to be ultra low latency. We've actually gotten it down to around 3 milliseconds round trip latency, which is just stupid fast. You really can't even, you know, hear or feel that. It's very natural feeling, and it allows you to be able to hear these great effects while you're tracking. And it doesn't, you know, add a whole lot of any kind of CPU usage as far as what you would experience when you're applying big reverb plugins and stuff like that to your DAW. So, and as you can see, you know, in my recording application, you know, if I show you my setup, look at my block size here. You know, I'm running, you know, 1024 samples, so, you know, you would definitely hear latency if I was applying plugins, but I'm not. Man, we're using the Virtual Studio Live. So that's the 3 AudioBox VSL interfaces, the 22, the 44, and the 1818. One of the cool things I should let people know is that we're doing a really cool promotion through the end of the year, and if you purchase one of these through the end of the year, you get a free upgrade to StudioOne Producer version 2. StudioOne Producer is a new version of StudioOne, so now we have Artist that comes in the box with all of these interfaces, and Byron's going to go over a little bit more of the differences between the 3, but you get Artist in the box, but Producer gives you a lot more features. It gives you third-party, you know, VST audio unit support, so you can use external plugins that are not PreSonus, you know, your Waves, your UAD, your, you know, whatever, native instruments, any of those plugins. You also get double the amount of content, loops, samples, and stuff like that. It normally is a $99 upgrade, but we're including it for free through the end of the year when you purchase one of the new audio boxes.
Good deal.
Right on. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Byron, and he's going to give you an overview of our brand new application, StudioOne version 2, which just was released in October, and we're really blown away by the response we've been getting from people. You know, a lot of people who are kind of like nervous about, oh, you know, it's a version 1 DAW, and you know, I kind of wish it had this and that. Well, we've added over 100 new features, and it's very, very powerful. So I'm going to let Byron kind of take it over and give you a spin on StudioOne.
All right, welcome. Well, there are 100 new features, so this will be going for about another 3 hours. Now we're just going to cover a couple of the main points. Let's just talk briefly about StudioOne, a little background on StudioOne. StudioOne was written and created by Wolfgang Kundras and Matthias Jawan, and these are the guys behind Cubase VST, Nuendo. And what you're going to see as we go through some of the things in StudioOne is the reason the workflow is as fast and simple as it is, and the whole drag and drop architecture of this, is because it's a brand new DAW. So it has fresh code, and it's not restricted by 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 versions and code that's been going back 10 or 20 years. This is brand new. So right off the bat, what we'll do is take a look at the start page. When you first launch StudioOne, this is the first thing you see. With most DAWs, when you look at your recent files list, you see something pretty generic like this with just song titles. But in StudioOne, our recent files list actually gives you the complete file path to where your song is. In addition to that, if you look at when you last saved it, it tells you right down to the second when you last saved it. So this is a common theme running through StudioOne, which is you're always going to be provided with lots of information to always know where you are in the song or what you're working on or a parameter that you might be adjusting. So this is the start page. You've got your recent files list. You've got your artist profile in the section here in the middle where you can put your name and your genre of music, and if you have a website or a photo. And then later on in the project section, you can put your metadata like ISRC code and composer and arranger and dates and what have you. And there's a news feed directly from PreSonus. So every time you launch StudioOne, if there's an update, as you can see just a few weeks ago, we had last month, 2.02 came out. So even if you haven't been to the PreSonus website for a few months, you're always going to know what the latest version is, and you'll be able to click on a link right from there and download the latest version and then continue on with your session. So we'll start off by taking a look at just a new song here. We'll go here and create an empty song and give you a layout of what the arrange area looks like in StudioOne. So what we have here is your basic arrange area. I'll delete these guys here. Here where all your tracks are going to be. And then over on the right side is the browser, which has 5 tabs. It's got a home page now in version 2. But you've got your instruments tab, your effects, your sound library, which would be any of your loops and sounds that come with the program, your file browser, which actually lets you find anything on the computer. It's a file browser for the whole computer, and your audio pool, which as soon as you start adding tracks, you're going to see your audio files showing up on the left, much like Pro Tools, Logic, and things like that. So right off the bat, if we wanted to audition anything that's in the browser, we do it over here. We can just double-click on anything, and then we can single-click on anything else to hear what we want to audition, and then we can double-click again to stop it. Now, this very first thing I'm going to do is really the only thing that I'll be showing you guys that's not unique to StudioOne, and that is when we grab a loop and we drag it on over into our arrange window, it creates an audio track for us, and we can see that right there. And then if I want to make a copy of that, if I select it and hit D for duplicate, just like that, I can copy that, and I can select all of those, and again, just like that, have 16 bars of drums. Now, again, that is something we can do in GarageBand or Acid, lots of programs. But now we're going to get into the stuff that is unique to StudioOne. So I've got my drums playing here. And as they're playing, if I wanted to put a compressor on the drums in StudioOne, you can, you've got your pull-down menus and you can do things like that. But in StudioOne, if you want to put a compressor on the drums, it's much quicker to actually put a compressor on the drums. And you can see the effect happens there immediately. That's pretty fast, so I'll do that again. I can grab my compressor from the browser, and I can drag it into the insert here, I can drag it onto the channel over here, or again, right onto the drums, and it gives me my compressor just like that. So, and that's the thing to know about StudioOne, is that if you've been using a computer at any point for the last 25 years, you know how to use StudioOne, because there's 3 basic moves that will allow you to accomplish 95% of what you want to do in StudioOne. It's click, double click, and drag and drop, click and dragging. That's it. So if you can do that, you can use this program. So we've got our drums here, we've got a compressor. Let's add an instrument. So I would go over here and click on my instrument tab. And then, again, in other DAWs, the way you might add an instrument track would be to add a track, come on over, say, okay, I want to add some keys. I'm going to select, is it going to be a mono or a stereo track or for audio, or an instrument track? In this case, I'd select an instrument track. How many numbers? 1, and then add it. Now again, that's several clicks. That's a lot of moving around. It's much too slow. The way that we would do it in StudioOne is I'm just going to go right to the preset that I want, grab it, and then just drag it into the arrange window like so, right, and drop it right in the middle there. It automatically creates an instrument track for me and loads the instrument and the preset of exactly what I want. And then I can again go back over to my effects tab, throw a compressor on the keyboard as well, and we're in business. Now, I do not have a MIDI keyboard connected, but I've got a MIDI file here, so we'll grab this guy and drag it in. And again, you see what's happening here. We've got everything that we're bringing in, we're dragging it in from the browser. Loops, effects, instruments, MIDI files. It could be effects change, it could be audio files, any of those things. And so we play that, we've got our track playing. Now, if I want to change presets, I can just double click on anything over here in the browser and change my preset just like that, which is fine. But let's say that I actually want a completely different instrument. I would like to use a different instrument than Presence. Well, and it doesn't matter, by the way, in StudioOne Producer or in StudioOne Pro, whether that's one of our included instruments or something third party. So, you know, if I decided that I wanted to use Native Instruments FM8 on there, I just drag it on top of my old instrument and let go, and it's going to load in that instrument. It says here, do you want to replace the instrument Presence? So I would say yes. And now it's going to load up my Native Instruments instrument there that quickly. You'll notice I didn't have to create a new instrument track, delete the old one, move my MIDI file around. Again, what you're going to find in StudioOne is that it allows you to do things in 1 second that might take you 5 or 10 seconds. Now, on its own, that 5 or 10 seconds might not seem like much, but you're working 5 or 10 times faster. And over the course of working on a full project, you're really going to find that you're going to accomplish a lot more in much less time. So that's how we would grab an instrument and bring it on there. Some other things we can do are things like, let's say we've got a session like this that's, I would call this a medium-sized session. It's about 20, 24 tracks. Now normally, if you want to get to a particular channel on a mixer in a DAW and you've got a big session, 50 or 60, 70 tracks, there's a lot of scrolling around back and forth to find the channel that you want to look for and then selecting it and saying, okay, good, now I want to work on this track. But in StudioOne, and I can have my mixer closed, I can get to any track I want or any channel I want in the mixer just by double-clicking on that track, and it'll open up the mixer for me. It also selects it and highlights it, and I can get to it really quickly. If I want to create a bus, I can select the track, say my percussion loops here, and say, you know what, I want to create a bus for these, and I can just simply right-click, and you can see here, add bus for selected tracks. And when I do that, it creates a bus for me like there, and now I've got all of my percussion and stuff running through there. So again, everything is single click. It's just an easy move. It's a drag. It's a moving it from point A to point B to get the result you want and not have to go through all those steps. StudioOne will let you work with key commands. You can import your Pro Tools key commands, your Logic key commands. You can use your pull-down menus. But you're going to find that that's actually going to slow you down, and you can work a lot faster in StudioOne if you adapt the drag and drop approach to working on stuff. Another example would be doing something like, let's go back to our start page here, like adding automation to a track. So here, I've got this little piece of music here, and let's say that I wanted to add some panning automation to my guitar track. Now again, in other programs, you're going to instigate the automation. You're going to come on over here and say, okay, I want to add a parameter that I want to automate. And depending on what the parameter is, you may have to dig down a few levels to find the thing that you're looking for. And again, this is 3 or 4 or 5, 6 clicks instead of 1, and it's too slow. In StudioOne, I want you to notice that in this box we have up here in the corner, this black window, anything that I click on in StudioOne, I'll open up a compressor. If I touch the ratio, you're going to see the ratio right here. And like I said, you're always being provided the complete information, the parameter, the plugin, the value, it's all right there. If I switch to threshold, same thing, we're going to see that all there. If I go to my master output, there's my main out, the volume, the value. So again, what we were talking about though is we want to do panning. So all I'm going to do is touch the panning slider on my guitar track, light chunk guitar there, and shows up right there. Once I've clicked on the thing that I want to add to that track, I just go over to the hand, and as soon as it lights up, I just grab it and drag it right onto my track, and just like that I've got automation, at which point I can come in here and do something like this and put my panning in, and we'll solo that. We got, and you can hear it there moving from the left to the right. Now, that's fine, and you can do this in DAWs where you can drop in nodes and put in your automation, but StudioOne provides a great set of drawing tools here that make adding your automation even easier. So if I select the freehand tool, I could then draw in my automation like this and work very quickly. Or let's say I need a straight line, I can do the same thing. I can just drop in a line like so. We've also included a variety of shapes, the curve tool, which is great for putting a fade out at the end of the song. It's very smooth and works great. I've got triangle and sine waves, and if I want to draw in a pattern like so, it's very easy. Now, if I hold down the Option key, I can change the size of my cycle. If I hold down the Command key, I can change the start point of that cycle. Now in this case, I said I want to do some panning automation, and I want it to be rhythmic, so I'm going to select a square wave, and I'm going to come in right here, and just like that, I'm going to swipe across the first 4 or 5 bars, and now if we listen to this, you can hear how it's panning back in time. Now, if we zoom in, if you were to do this in any other DAW, you would have to basically draw in the first 6 or 8 points by hand. And if you didn't put them in there perfectly and you start copying and pasting, within a couple bars you're going to be way off. And it's going to take you a lot longer. So this was something I did in a half a second that might take you several minutes or longer to do in other programs. My favorite tool, though, of all of the drawing tools is the transform tool. Because with the transform tool, I can select that set of automation unless I want to do a rhythmic panning, but I don't want to go hard pan. I would like to go maybe 2 to 10 or 3 and 9. I can grab my handle here and just pull in the edges. Or maybe I want to start in the center and just pan it off to one side rhythmically or the other. I can do that. Or maybe I grab this handle here because I want to start all the way over on one side and have it work like so. Or maybe I have some science homework and I need to work on a DNA chain, in which case I can just do this with it as well and send it off to Caltech. Now, the other cool thing about this, of course, is that we can squeeze this and manipulate the automation in all kinds of ways. And if you do electronic music or stuff where you kind of get into some crazy creative stuff, you're able to do stuff in a matter of a few seconds that might take you an entire President's Day weekend if you had to do this in another program. So we're able to do it a lot faster and a lot more precisely in StudioOne. So those are some of my favorite things that have existed here in StudioOne since version 1. In fact, we also have some other cool features like, let's say that you had an audio clip here and you wanted to adjust the volume of it. Well, we can do that nice and easily. And that's included at no extra charge. So we like that. We also can, in our project page, if you want to upload something to SoundCloud, we can do that. That's something that's been in there since version 1.